This video is about a defining point in world history. This is right after World War II. So it's kind of ironic that even though the Russians, the people from the United States, and obviously like the Brits and the French to a lesser extent, but it was really the American and the Russian armies who really crushed the Axis. And when I say the Axis, I mean basically Germany and to a lesser extent Italy. Italy really did not play a major role like Japan or Germany did. A lot of people debate why did this happen. So when the Germans were finally defeated in Berlin, this was like a lot of fighting all over. There was a lot of fighting all over Europe and Asia and other places around the world. And when they're finally defeated in Berlin, many of the Nazis basically fled to other parts of the world because they knew they would be executed. Those were crimes against humanity. They were tried. And they just knew that they didn't really have a chance, so a lot of them fled. Many of them went to South America. South America just really represented a neutral place that was relatively safe, especially southern America. I mean, by this I mean southern Brazil, Argentina, and Chile have quite a lot of Germans that have fled, and there's also Welsh. And then Europe, there were decisions of what would happen with Europe. So basically, Germany was partitioned between four sides, but really the ones who took the major chunk were the Americans and the Russians. And as soon as the partition started, they started happening. Another major polarization started happening this time between the Americans and the Russians. Polarization had a lot to do, in this case, was with ideology and the way that the country should have been run. And this is really known as the World War II. So when the Germans when the Germans were defeated, in the next 10 years, there were many small skirmishes that started all over the world. I mean, two of the major ones were, this is more like 20 years after World War II, the Vietnam War, but also in the 50s, the Korean War is an example of a skirmish, a polarization with a proxy war, which is not a direct war between two major superpowers, but there's a third country that's being used and played as a puppet of the two governments that are actually fighting. There are many other skirmishes that happened, like Greece had influences to make it a Marxist country, and obviously Russia built the Soviet Union through Stalin, which a lot of people claim there was a lot of evidence that shows that the way it was done was very forcefully. Not a lot of people really had a choice, but they just had to embrace Russian and Soviet values. And this included a lot of countries that were not really even Slavic, which included a lot of Central Asia countries and extreme East Siberia countries, which sometimes they really did not enjoy or value being part of Russia, which sometimes they really didn't embrace values and religion. So the Berlin airlift is a great example of a skirmish that happened after World War II. So Berlin basically was taken by the Russians, and then Americans started sending in flights to Berlin in order to help the Americanized side. So Berlin was basically split in two, and this is where the Berlin Wall was created as a way of the Soviet side to keep the Soviet or the Russian Germans in one side, or the communist Germans, and a lot of communist Germans really wanted to be part of the democratic side. A lot of the ideas with democracy have a lot to do with people really associated with freedom. So, and they associated Marxism with a lot of control and less freedom. So a lot of people just, within the idea of freedom, people tend to, a lot of this German